Hello, everyone, and welcome to Ohio Energy Project's Careers in Energy Virtual Field Trip. My name is Rosie Vasquez, and I will be your moderator for today's trip. Today, we'll be learning about careers in energy as we tour the Columbia Gas Training Facility in Gahanna, Ohio. Along with our classrooms here today, we also want to thank NiSource and Columbia Gas for hosting the Careers in Energy program, and thanks to Columbia Gas of Ohio for hosting us at their training center today. Before introducing our host today, I would like to read a short bio about NiSource and the Columbia Gas Training Center. NiSource Inc. is one of the largest fully regulated utility companies in the United States, serving approximately 3.3 million natural gas customers and 500,000 electric customers across 6 states. The mission of NiSource's approximately 7,200 employees is to deliver safe, reliable energy that drives value to the customers. At NiSource, people are at the center of everything they do and continue to be a top priority as the company shifts to a greener, more sustainable energy supply. It's an exciting time to have a career in the energy sector as natural gas will continue to play a vital role in advancing America with its energy goals. So now I want to introduce you to our hosts today. We have Rose Barrett, Senior Technical Trainer at NiSource. We are excited to be here, and Rose is going to take it away by introducing herself and starting us on our tour of the facility.
All right. Well, welcome everybody to the Gahanna Training Center. This is the localized training facility for the state of Ohio and Kentucky. We operate, as Rosie said, in 6 different states. So the opportunities that you may have if you wanted to apply are endless. I'm celebrating my 36th year with Columbia Gas in next week, actually. And what I can say is that as soon as you get your foot in the door, you can start at an entry-level position that doesn't require anything but a high school diploma. We train you, and that's what I'm going to show you today is the training facility where we do all of the training for the people that work in the field. And I'll explain what all of those different things are. But in my career, I started off in customer service, answering phone calls. I was a collector, so I used to go and knock on people's doors and collect money. I was a service technician for almost 13 years. So I would be the person that you would see if you had a problem with your gas service or if you smelled gas. I became a trainer for our service technicians. And then the last 7 years, I've been kind of a safety trainer. I go to fire departments and police departments so that we're all on the same page if there is a natural gas emergency. We're going to start off at our computer lab and let you know what we do in there. So because we are a regulated company, we require all of the field employees to take tests periodically to ensure that they're compliant with the different policies that are set forth by the federal government. The Department of Transportation actually regulates everything that Columbia Gas does because we transport gas. So we have approximately 800 or so different programs and applications that can be used here. And the training for our PC lab is one of the places that we do those trainings as well as do the testing on the computer. So we're going to move on down to the service lab, or I'm sorry, the plant lab. And we're going to, yeah.
Sorry, go ahead. I was just going to say, as you're
Nope.
transitioning to that plant lab, we do have a few questions if you wouldn't mind
Oh,
answering.
great. Absolutely.
First question we have is what oil and gas careers require only a high school diploma to get started?
Anything that is like not engineering or HR related, most of those do require a college education. The field our dispatchers that dispatch the jobs. There's just a lot of different roles that you do not have to have anything but that degree, or I mean the high school diploma.
That's great. All right. So are you at the plant lab now?
Mhm. Yes.
All right.
So this is our plant lab. Um, what plant does are they are working on all of the facilities that are located underground. We have a lot of different displays here that folks have brought into us as to what they've seen in the field when they dig up different pipes. There's trees growing around the different service lines that can stop the flow of gas. The pipeline, if it's steel, can corrode and cause holes in the pipeline. And there's just been so many different materials used over the years. We want to make sure that we provide examples to those folks so that they know what they're looking at once they go out in the field. And by the field, I mean going outside and doing the work. In the back of or this side of the room, we have a U-shaped facility. This is where the desks are set up, and it's shaped like a U simply because we want to make sure that there is a good interaction between students, because we do kind of an 80-20 when it comes to training here. 80% of it is hands-on. 20% of it is lecture. Because this is a very physical type of job, the way to learn is to actually touch and do whatever it is that we're teaching. The back of the room is where we have the hands-on capabilities, so we can learn at the U shape and then immediately go back and apply whatever it was that we just learned. There's all kinds of different piping back here. There's different types of material. There are times that we have to get in a confined space. So the chain back there that's in orange, that is a way to lower somebody into a confined space so that if we need to get them out, we can get them out quickly. But this is just a really good place to learn, and apply everything that we just learned.
That's great, Rose. So, as Rose is going to transition to our next lab, which will be the measurement and regulation lab, we have a few more questions if you wouldn't mind answering for us, Rose.
Of course, of
So our
course.
next question is what is the application process like to apply for these types of trainings?
Yes. So if you go to NiSource.com and select employment, there is a list of all of the jobs that we have available. And like I said, some require a college education, some are just a high school diploma. And during the hiring process, we really want to look for folks that are energetic. We want to make sure that they have a good attendance, they have a clean record. Because all of those things are checked when we are going through an interview process. The interview process is actually the questions that are asked are in a star formation. So you would have to give a situation or task that relates to the question. Um, the action that you took based on that, and then the results is the R. So making sure that you're answering those questions in a star format, and it doesn't have to relate to the work that you're actually doing, but it could be something that is you've experienced, either playing sports, or anything that relates to that specific question.
Oh, that's great. Looks like you made the process really simple. Thank you for explaining that to us.
Sure. So we're going to go into our M&R measurement and regulation lab. The first thing you'll notice is that we're on a raised floor here. And what that does is it allows to simulate the gas coming up from the ground as it goes into these different settings. In this lab, we work with pressurized air and not the live gas. And we have divided it into several different sections. If we walk to the back section, these are where we would find at a town border station. And what that does is there is a transmission line that someone else owns that transports the gas from state to state. At that town border station, it's transferred into the distribution line, which is what we do. And that is where the chemical agent is added to the gas so you can smell it. And it smells like rotten eggs, and it's called mercaptan. The next two settings are what you would find at a regulator building. So as gas flows through the piping, you want to make sure that it has pressure regulators that limit how much pressure goes downstream. So the regulators here are really maintaining a particular pressure that goes into a house, a business, or an industry. And then the last two rows are what you would find at maybe your favorite fast food place, or an industry that is producing something that is running off of natural gas. So there's a car manufacturer that can be run off of these to utilize for their production of cars. They have meters on them, they have regulators on them, and there is special training just for this area because it does affect not just a subdivision, but it could affect maybe a whole town. So we want to make sure that the folks that are trained here are properly trained and qualified to do the jobs that they're asking or we're asking them to do. We do have the inside of a meter if you wanted to look at that. So inside your meter, this is what it looks like. And there's just baffles in here that fill up and empty. And every time it does that, it moves the cogs, and it's what registers on the meter as how much gas is being used. And this room does also have a U-shaped desk area. And again, we apply or we learn what we're doing and then apply it in the back of the room.
All right, so I think Rose is going to take us to some of the other classrooms they have on site.
Yeah, so this is one of our classrooms. And as you can see, it's set up with different types of equipment, different types of piping. And a lot of our employees work in our offices. And in order for them to understand the process, there's a course that was developed simply for those folks so that they understand what we do outside on the pipelines. So they get to learn how to put a clamp on a leaking line, or they will learn how to build a meter setting, just so they have that hands-on and they can remember, what was going on. And then we'll proceed to the service
Okay.
area. Any
As
questions
you're
that came
going to
in?
the service lab, yeah, about how long does a training last for one of these programs or one of these jobs?
It really depends on the what position that you have, and that's simply because one position maybe requires something different than another one. So for service technicians, they will come in, do a 7-day training, then they will go out in the field for OJT training. So they'll ride with somebody so that they can get that on the job experience, practicing what they learned in the classroom. Then they'll come back for another class, which is about 2 weeks, and then they go back in the field. So all in all, it's probably a 6-month process. Once you finish that process, then you do a lot of that Department of Transportation testing. And once you are qualified, then you are able to work on your own. Plant is pretty much the same way. Those folks that work on the pipelines underground, that is normally about a year-long process.
That's great. Thank you for explaining that for us.
Sure. So in our service lab, And this is what I did. I was a service technician. So in this lab, we set it up with all kinds of different examples of venting systems, different types of exhaust systems, even what would be installed in a chimney if it was a metal chimney. We also have appliances in the back of the room because, as you can imagine, when we go out to a house that has been there for a long time, they may have a 1972 stove, but a brand new hot water heater. So in this lab, we are able to simulate turning the gas on and lighting all of the different appliances so that the service technician is very confident by the time they go out to do this on their own, they're able to make sure that they can operate. So over here is a 1940 stove. And then on the other side, we'll get to that. There's commercial heat cooking equipment, what you would find in a restaurant. There are gas lights and gas logs and all kinds of different things that really operate on gas. So we do need to make sure that we're covering all of the different activities that take place in service. Service is also the one that is the first responder if somebody smells gas or hits a gas line. So we meet the fire department out there and we make the situation safe. If you should ever smell gas, you want to make sure that you stop what you're doing, leave the area, and call 911 as well as the gas company. That way we can make sure everybody's safe. On this side, we have another older stove. I don't remember what year. I think it's probably the 50s. And then we also have a gas refrigerator. The gas refrigerator is still used and made today for hunting cabins and things like that, and it runs off of propane so that you can keep things cold while you're camping or out hunting or anything else. Then we have back here the commercial kitchen, like I mentioned. We have an industrial hot water heater, a stove, a deep fryer, as well as a pizza oven. So, when our technicians go out, we want to make sure that they know how to light and check these all for safety, because safety is the number one goal that we have here at NiSource. I always say to brand new employees that we're a safety company, not a gas company. And again, this room has the U shape as well so that we can learn from the textbook and then come back and actually apply what we learned. The neat thing about this room too is that not everything is installed the way it's supposed to, because we want our folks to be able to troubleshoot when they're out in the field. So that way they can recognize what's wrong and what's right.
All right, that's awesome. Thank you for showing us this service lab, Rose. So now Rose is going to transition to another area known as their safety town. And as she does that, we're going to hear from another employee. Her name is Gabby Keenan, and she is going to tell us all about her job as a work coordinator at the Columbia Gas Training Facility.
My name is Gabby Keenan, and I have been here for about 2 years now. I started as a work coordinator, and then I like to think of it as moving up into essentially an AA position or a coordinator position. I'm helping out a lot with ordering materials and ordering lunches for all the classes happening here, especially at the training center. And invoicing and a bunch of other things. My job is busy all the time. My educational background is a bachelor's degree in early childhood education. I am here. I am not doing anything with little ones, but my path was to have my own classroom and educate all these little ones and give them those aha moments and really learn something new day. it didn't pan out for me. It turns out graduated and got my experience in the classroom and it just wasn't for me. I still love teaching people things and learning things on my own. I kind of got my foot in the door here once I found out about this training position here, the coordinator position. I knew I could do it. I felt comfortable in knowing that this is for me and this is something that I know I can achieve in and be better in. And when I got here, it was simply that. I've learned so much since starting this position, and oddly in a way, my degree's paid off because I'm learning things, but I'm also teaching other people. There's other coordinators in different states, and I get to teach them things that I know and that they don't. So it kind of is my own little educator here at the training center. What I love most about my job is kind of all the interactions that I get throughout the day. I'm surrounded by numerous trainers here on a daily basis, but on top of that, I get to meet people from the field or really anybody else who's coming to take these variety of classes. We also hold large executive meetings, staff meetings, and things of that such that don't have anything to do with the training center. So I've now met all of our VPs, our higher ups. I've gotten to shake hands with different leaderships in different departments. So I mean, I could explore other avenues, and I know people who are in them now. That in itself is just knowledge, but I just enjoy getting to meet everybody. I'm a talker at heart, and this is kind of the perfect environment to introduce yourself and get to know somebody just for fun. And everybody here has genuinely been super kind, inviting, wanting to connect with you, wanting to teach you things. I guess it's because they're trainers, but I thoroughly enjoy working here for the relationships that I have with everybody. I also like learning in a sense, so I have no choice but to learn and but to put myself into those positions because I'm constantly taking on new tasks or running across something that I might not know. So yeah, those would be my favorite things. I would say high school is not irrelevant. Your science classes are not irrelevant. They are important. You will need those for any energy industry. So just pay attention. They are useful, I promise. Time management and safety and you know, not getting in trouble and things like that. Those are super important for any job, but definitely something that we focus here in the energy industry. So I pay attention to those things and kind of work on those. And then get your foot in the door. Just find something here. Maybe it doesn't spark all of the light bulbs in your head, but apply for it. You might like it. And then, like I said in one of my previous questions, I get to experience lots of new relationships here, and that kind of leads you to other pathways. And at least here we say explore and move up the ladder and try new things. It's just all about learning. So definitely get your foot in the door and kind of go from there.
Thank you so much, Gabby, for telling us all about your job. Rose, we're going to give it back to you. Can you tell us a little bit about where you are and what we're seeing?
Sure, absolutely. So right now we are at an area that those plant folks, when they are working or learning about things in the classroom, we eventually come out here to where there's excavations that look or simulate what it would be like to work in an excavation, although these are pretty safe because they're made of concrete. But, you know, it gives them a time to practice climbing in and out on a ladder, putting pipe together. We do fuse pipe. So it's a process that melts two pieces of pipe together. And it's just another way that we can make sure folks are qualified to do what they want to do, or what we're requiring them to do. Out farther is a meter wall, is what we call it. And this is for service techs or anybody setting a meter. And basically that area, sometimes all we find when we go out to set a meter is a pipe sticking up out of the ground. And the service technician or the M&R technician has to build the setting that will accommodate the meter that is required for that home or business. So, and again, it's a lot of hands-on so that you're very confident in what you're doing before you ever go out. We're going to move to the safety town, and what we do here is really pretty creative. The whole safety town here is built up upon stone. And we have a tower over there to my right, and then you'll see another one as we proceed through Safety Town. We're able to create 42 different gas leaks, and we want to make sure that it's gravel so that the gas can't escape. We don't want any hazards, but we do that because we want to make sure that the technicians that are going out to respond to odor or gas calls feel very confident, and they have already experienced a gas leak so that they are able to do that. All of our houses have at least 2 appliances in them. They are built up above the ground so that if there is gas, we can make sure that it's escaping. And we can go into the building over here if you like. So this is a 3-unit apartment building. It is not fully finished inside because no one lives here. It's just a simulation. But inside, you'll find a furnace, and outside there'll be a meter so that service technician can test the lines and set a meter and turn the gas on. And then it's not completely finished, so you can scan this way to see the other 2 units and their appliances. So then if we move back outside, we can look at the building adjacent to it. And what that is, it's a 3-unit apartment building just like this one. However, it does have a basement and a crawl space. And so we can simulate meters being inside of a home or outside, like the one that you see here. And again, just like the service lab, we installed things incorrectly, simply so folks will know how to look at that and troubleshoot to correct anything. The building in the far back is actually a classroom as well. And to simulate real life things, we do have some speakers that we can turn on outside. One of them is a playground sound, children playing on the playground. So if there's an incident near a school, our technicians know how to either make sure it's safe or evacuate if necessary. Over this way, we have one that has a dog sound. So you can see the dog house in there, and somewhere there's a bowl and some doggy toys. Because as you can imagine, if we're going out to different houses, we are going to see different dogs. And so we have a dog barking in this yard. So it simulates somebody going in. We do have another sound. It's a couple of people arguing. So, you know, we approach those homes as well. But this is our little miniature buildings so that we can, you know, really recreate everything that a service technician is going to do. And like I said, you don't have to have a college education for this, simply because we train you on everything. Some of those other positions that I mentioned, engineering, we do have to have pipelines engineered to make sure that they're able to support whatever appliance is downstream. And we're going to proceed out here to where some of the plant and service activities occur.
Wow, that's great, Rose. It really looks like you have covered everything for training and came up with every scenario possible, it seems.
The area here that I'm taking you to, a lot of folks, when they come to work for us, don't know how to run a concrete saw or a jackhammer. So we give them an opportunity to run both of those. And the cool thing about this is once we have broken up the concrete, that inner piece inside, we can just replace it, take all of the broken parts out, put brand new concrete in and start all over. We do have a fire field, and this is basically where we teach fire school. And what that involves is setting gas on fire and putting it out with a fire extinguisher, simply because we never want that to happen, but we have to be prepared if it does. So what we'll do is we invite firefighters, we invite different contractors that work for us so that they can participate in these fire activities. But we have 3 gas-fed fires here in the field. The one that's above ground, that is a flange fire, so that would simulate some of the things that that those M&R techs might experience. The middle one is kind of underground partially, and what that is, it is a pit fire or an excavation fire. And then the third one where the wall is, that is an impingement fire, or maybe somebody hit a meter with their car and it caught fire on the side of a house. So that's what that simulates. Um, it's a really neat activity. Our folks are required to take it every 5 years so that they stay up on top of how this works. The field in the back, there is a gas main that runs back there, and new plant technicians, what they will do is they'll dig down to the main, run a brand new service line that comes up to the house. And the wood that is there, that's simulating the side of a house. So they will install a service from start to finish during their training so that when they leave here, they have already done it and are competent to do the work out in the field. We have an area that is underground here, and it runs to or through a 4-inch pipe all the way to the back of the yard here. And this is where they practice pigging. And what pigging is it is a way to clean the internal area of the pipe. So they use something like a styrofoam or a really hard plastic, and they shoot it through that pipe at very high pressure so that it cleans out any debris that is in that pipeline. But again, we have to practice in order to make sure that we know exactly what we're supposed to do. As for teaching folks how to run a backhoe or even get a CDL to drive the bigger vehicles, we provide all of that training. So, if you coming right out of high school and you don't have those things, that is not going to stop you from getting hired, because we do train you on those things. So we have, the larger vehicles. We have equipment back here that the M&R folks work on. There's just so many different hands-on things that we can train so that folks are very comfortable. So the backhoe is up here as well. And if you've never run a backhoe, you can certainly get the training here, because we have all of this area back here that folks dig up and fill the holes again. That's how you practice. You dig and you fill. So Rosie, do you have any questions that have come in?
Yeah. So first of all, thank you so much for sharing with us this incredible training facility. We'd like to know what advice you have for students looking to go into a career at Columbia or any energy fields.
Yeah, so the thing is to apply. The worst thing that anybody can tell you is no, right? And there are jobs that I've gotten here at Columbia Gas once I got my foot in the door that I never thought I would get. I never thought I would be a trainer. And I applied for it and I interviewed for it and I got the job. So you have to go outside of what you're comfortable with and be able to, express the different talents that you may have that are hidden.
That's great. What is your favorite part of working at Columbia?
I think it's the people. We work with a lot of great people, and I joke and say we're nothing but a bunch of helpers. Because if someone calls and says, "Hey, I have a question about this," if I don't know the answer, I know somebody who does, and that's the way everybody else is. If they don't know the answer, they know who to call that can help them through whatever project or whatever issue that they're dealing with. And we do work with a lot of good people.
That is so great. Well, I think that's all the time we have for today. This has been an incredible day, and thank you for taking on this us on this tour. I want to also thank all participating students and teachers across the state who were able to join us today. This is our final VFT for the school year, so make sure you check back in the fall of next school year for some new and exciting virtual field trips we will be hosting. I also want to, of course, thank Rose from Columbia Gas for hosting us on site at the Columbia Gas Training Center. Again, thank you so much to all our students who joined us for this trip, and we can't wait to see you all again this fall.